All right, welcome back to TSP. I am Dr. Evil Genius.
And I am Cats and Paul. What's going on, man?
Well, since the last time you decided to show up for work, we had JD from NY 206 of the Off the Script podcast come and talk to us about some controversy going on in All Elite Wrestling, or AEW, which is supposed to be an alternative to WWE. One of their top stars was a legend in WCW/WWF/WWE in Chris Jericho. Now, some not so favorable things came out on the internet, and essentially some blogger just put out a bunch of rumors and got some likes from a particular woman that people believe he was referring to. It turns out that he didn't mention any names. He just said that, Chris Jericho has a very poor reputation. There's a bunch of NDAs signed, but did not mention who these NDAs were signed by. So they assumed that it had to do with this talent that is no longer with the company, named Kylie Ray. Now, to the credit of the guy who is putting these rumors out there on, with no factual basis, I might add, he did not mention any specific person, but people are assuming that because this one particular woman liked the comment, that he must be talking about her. Okay, so when me and JD did the video, we just kind of put it out there that we don't have a lot of information, and he said we don't have a lot of information, but there were some people who responded to the video, and shout out to you guys. So many of you guys turned out for JD. We are very, we're impressed over here on TSP. Yeah. We're still a small platform, and you guys go where JD goes. And so some people who are fans of AEW put up some comments. Some people were reasonable. Other people were not. The people who were not reasonable were removed. Some of them were given multiple chances to return to reasonable conversation. They failed to do so, and they were removed, which is, kind of funny, because JD's mods on his channel, if they think you're saying something that disagrees, they're getting rid of you. But we don't do that here.
No, we try to engage in good dialogue, and if you're willing to come from a fruitful and good place, we will have the conversation. But when you start debasing or insulting, we're all set with that.
Yeah, in fact, just getting to the disrespect before we get into the meat and potatoes. You had some criticisms for me with how I handled this one particular guy. Yeah, that shall remain nameless.
Yeah, you were dealing with some fucking peasant that was just kind of being a douchebag. No, I'm just gonna keep it all the way real. It was real. He was just being a douchebag, and he was trying to. Actually, the actual definition of evidence is this, and then you use the one directly out of the Oxford Dictionary, and it was like whatever. The guy was just a complete fucking tool, and you gave him a lot of opportunities to have a genuine conversation. He's like, well, genius, and just came off as a smartass, and that's a guy that gets shoved into lockers and punched in the fucking mouth. So, we had a conversation about, dude, sometimes interacting with certain comments, especially with that, just let people say what they want to and don't engage, because a lot of people on the internet, they're behind a keyboard, behind a screen, and there's no repercussions for them talking shit. There's a lot of good comments, to be fair, on that video that were very good dialogue, even the people that disagreed. But when you're dealing with fucking morons like that, you're just better off not giving them attention, because what you're doing by responding and try to come from a good place and be, oh, let's talk about this. Let's actually go into the facts or the evidence. The guy just kept coming with insult after insult and not just having a conversation. I think that's a waste of my time. I would rather shoot myself in the head than deal with an idiot like that. That's my personal opinion. That's why I just don't give that shit any levity, any space. You can. I'll even keep the comments up. I've had that in the hockey channel. People insult the base. I just get a chuckle out of it. But I'm not going to engage with people that aren't coming forth with a rational take, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to defend the guy in this. Again, shall remain nameless, because I thought about revealing the guy's name, but then
his name is Peasant. His name is Peasant. Continue.
I made a point there's two things I'm going to say in his defense. Number one, I made a point that we don't attack people, we attack ideas. So you just rip this guy a new one,
I don't
and
care. Listen, like I don't care. See, you might say that, but to me, when I'm reading this stuff and he's just insulting, 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 it's like, who the fuck are you, buddy? Like the fuck? Like, yeah, I get it. Let's have a good dialogue. But if you're gonna keep constantly, not just once, twice, three times, multiple, like 4 or 5, several fucking times, it's like, yeah, I can insult you. That's just my take on it. But go ahead, sir.
yeah. So that's where and then the second part would be that and this is why it's so important that people understand what effective communication is, because when the guy actually made, I thought, some decent points, I disagreed with many of the points because I thought that the basis for his ideas was just faulty.
Right, correct.
But I thought that he was bringing forth some interesting ideas that I had to actually consider. So, shout out to that guy. But he was removed from the platform because he just could not be civil. He had to continue to be aggressive. And I'm like, dude, nobody's being aggressive towards you. Like, what's the meaning of this?
Yeah,
But anyway,
and that's where for me it was just getting old. It's like I was reading these and you're being very cordial and nice, and this guy's just going at your throat. It's like pound sand.
but we're gonna actually give some credit to this guy, Sega Genesis. He actually put up a comment that other guy responded to with constant disrespect, and this guy was like, "Listen, I'm not going to disrespect you, but I'm going to let you know that I think that you're off base." And it's just like, okay, yeah. So anyway, let me just kind of go into the comment here from Sega Genesis, and the thing that I probably enjoyed or appreciated the most, Cap, is his first sentence. So I listened to the entire video.
Well, that's a first.
You know what I mean? Like, you get people that, 15 seconds in, they're typing a comment, leaving a dislike. And it's just like, can you actually listen to the...
Seen that quite a bit on this channel. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, so I listened to the entire video, and I feel that there were a lot of key details that weren't explained or discussed about the situation. There is a video of Tony Khan addressing Kylie Rae's exit shortly after she departed the company. It was noticeable, to say the least, how panicked and hurried Khan was while addressing her exit. It was even unusual for Khan. As for the rumor about Rae herself, there is a key detail that JD omitted when explaining it. It says that Rae was summoned to Jericho's room and outright told that there would be others there, and that is the belief that she went into the situation with. However, that when she arrived there, the only person in the room was Jericho himself. All right. So one of the main things that I tried to impart to this gentleman here, which, again, everything that he's saying kind of seems reasonable until you look at the keyword rumor.
Correct.
Right? Like, when you're dealing in business, when you're dealing with the law, because when you're talking about non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs for short, we're getting into the law. We're getting into civil law here.
Yep.
And rumor does not meet the muster. It just doesn't. There is a certain burden of proof that is required to move forward with any kind of legal anything.
Correct.
So when he says, "Listen, I have this information," right?
Right.
We have to make sure that when we look at so-called information, that there are verifiable facts and there are rumors. Now, to Sega Genesis' credit here, he is acknowledging that it is a rumor, but we'll continue. This wasn't a case of Jericho asking her out at the company party. He then came on to her, we don't know how, and she freaked out. It is believed that she went to Tony Khan, who was afraid that he would lose his TV deal, and if he didn't have Jericho, and that is where the NDA and exit came in. As for Houseman, the guy that is releasing these rumors without releasing any factual evidence in accordance with the rumors, which is a huge deal, y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not high school. This is not, I heard you was talking shit about me. Meet me after school at 3:00.
Right.
We're talking about a company that is on national television, on cable television, that is doing business against a publicly traded entity in TKO.
Correct.
So as smarks, which is a semi-derogatory mark for a semi-derogatory term for smart mark, or somebody who has totally bought in to everything in the business, but knows a little bit more than your regular fan.
Correct.
When it comes to smarks, we think they should handle things a certain way when that's just not how business is done,
Right.
especially here in the United States. So this Hausman guy is the guy running his mouth who has admitted to having a personal vendetta against Jericho, which right then and there should
It
let
throws.
you know,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Yeah.
hear that somebody don't like somebody and they're dropping a rumor. How much veracity do you give to anything they say, Cap?
I look at it with a grain of salt. I mean, they could be coming from a place of truth, but if they don't like the person, of course they're going to spread shit that doesn't make them look good, paint them in a bad light. That's just obvious.
Right. So, that is a key thing here. Moving on. As for Hausman, the key in the Weinstein reference is that he used his power or threat of it to sleep with multiple women. When we look at Kylie Rae's activity, it was more than just the one heart emoji. She liked several Chris Jericho accusation tweets, and the common theme in all of them is that they implied multiple victims. So again, implications and people liking comments.
Can I just say that is like the stupidest fucking way to. Oh my god. I guess that's where we're at in society. Like when someone likes a comment or likes a post or retweets it, that's that's just them saying like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this. We have to let the actual real life evidence play out and see how things go. I mean, liking a tweet doesn't mean it happened or it didn't happen. I just think I don't know, man. Some of the bastardized journalism you see is a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion. So, it's not true journalism. It's just like, oh wow, this person liked this. I'm like, what are you, fucking Keemstar? It's really not that place. But the interesting thing, that reason why we wanted to have this conversation is that it spoke about NDAs, right?
Right.
In that comment.
Right. I just want to read the rest of it because I want to get your opinion. Because
Okay.
especially since you have experience with NDAs,
Mhm.
and so in our comments section, the general feel for the people who did not think we covered the story properly is that NDAs are there because you're guilty of something. And
Yeah.
so I want to read the rest of his comment because I want to show him that respect.
Correct. All right.
And then I want you to get a full idea of where he's coming from to see just how reasonable he is or isn't being.
Right.
Okay. Jericho himself, who is known for being ready to yell and curse out fans with even the smallest accounts, has gone radio silent on the matter. Tony Khan was outright asked by a USA Today reporter if Jericho has ever been under investigation for his conduct and if there's been anyone to raise questions about his conduct. He dodged the question. That is a big reason that this is growing because we are all used to Tony Khan's pattern. And if Jericho had never been under investigation, Tony Khan would have absolutely answered the question and just said, no, Chris has never been under investigation for his conduct, and probably spent the next 5 minutes praising Chris and talking about how much people backstage at AEW love him. It speaks volumes that this supposed situation that lacks evidence can't be attacked head on by Tony Khan in AEW and put to bed. His answers at the media scrum very much resemble those of an executive in any other company who knows that there is a smoke to the fire. I think that what he's saying is where there's smoke, there's fire. A lot of people get that phrase flipped. But again, you've worked for a multi-million dollar company. I've worked for a Fortune 50 company
Right.
in the past. So everything that you've heard so far, what, how much weight do you give to this? And when you're talking about investigation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is one of the things that stood out to me, Cap. If NDAs were signed, that means there probably was an internal investigation,
Correct.
and that there was some sort of adjudication and or resolution to the matter that all people were comfortable
Correct.
signing off on. Why? Because a company asks you to sign an NDA, you are under no obligation to sign it. You
Nope.
have to sign it only if you agree to the terms.
So what a lot of people don't understand with NDAs is that you're not forced to sign these. You agree. You go into a room with arbitration, with your lawyers, with a judge, whatever, right? You figure out a situation where it's like, all right, like we're going to agree to these certain set of terms. And the person that signs the NDA, whether they're getting a cash settlement or something of that matter, that's why in a lot of cases, whether it be civilly, legally, they're like, okay, we're just going to sign an NDA so you can move on with your life and we can move on with ours, and there's not going to be any more bad talking of one another. That's one of the cases NDAs are signed. For me, my particular background in NDAs is I have a company. I have a website with a particular API that I don't want other people to copy. So with the developer, I had them sign an NDA so they can't, they can't share trade secrets of my website, build another website and be a direct competitor. That's another thing. And there's also a non-compete compete clause as well. That's a whole different conversation.
The legality of non-compete agreements are being challenged at the state, and it's expected to be challenged at the federal level as well, because it prohibits people from making a living.
Yeah. But I mean, there is also that caveat to it. And then there's also, like, I had a situation where a former employer, they wanted me to sign an NDA because of the situation at work that happened that was their fault. I agreed not to sign one. I said, nope, I'm not signing anything that makes it so I can't speak about it.
What did they offer you to sign it that made it not worth it?
I don't want to go too much into it. It was a lump sum of money.
There's a reason why I'm asking, Cap.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I'm asking, because if, let's say, for the sake of argument, that we give something to these rumors and say that Kylie Ray signed an NDA, what do you think are the chances that she received a lump sum of money?
Quite a bit.
In order to settle the situation, right? So she benefited, which means that the company did take some responsibility, at least from a monetary standpoint.
Right. And an NDA, I have to be clear, does not admit guilt.
Right.
None of this admits guilt. It's like you reach a settlement, you went forth. But there's also there's a missing caveat when some people talk about NDAs. If you sign an NDA under pressure or sign it illegally, quote unquote, where, like, let's say somebody did something illegal and then they make you sign an NDA, that throws it completely out. People think that NDAs, like, you can just like go pop the weasel, murder somebody, and if you make them sign an NDA, they can't talk about it. That's not how that works. That's an illegal NDA and would get thrown out of court because you're covering up for something illegally done. People think that NDAs are like this all powerful document that someone can do something vile to you, right? And that if they force them to sign an NDA, you can't talk about it. That's just not the case, and that's not the truth. We've seen NDAs be completely thrown out in court cases due to that. And I did see some of that notion, the NDA shit's restricted. I'm like, if something horrible happened, which you hope is not the case,
right?
You could just throw out that NDA. You could still pursue something legally, right? It's like that. I just don't understand. Like, some people don't understand that concept. The NDA is not some magical document that just overrides the justice system. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
You have to, and you have to sign it. The person that signs that document agrees to sign it as well. It's not like she was forced, and if she was forced, you throw it out.
Right. So that kind of goes into what is really the mic drop for me, Cap. And that's this, people. If the woman was essayed or graped, then the NDA would be non-enforceable legally, which means that the person or persons that were involved in any of these situations would be free to speak without fear of civil litigation.
Correct.
If there was no crime and an internal investigation happened, you are under, the company is under no obligation. They do not owe you to reveal the findings of that investigation because it is an internal matter and you are an external entity as a fan of the company.
Correct.
Now, you do hold the right to say, you know what, I am not going to watch All Elite Wrestling until Chris Jericho is gone or until Tony Khan talks. You have the right to take that approach if you want to. But nobody is under any obligation to capitulate to your demands to release internal company information.
Correct.
So if there was no crime committed, you do not have a right to know what happened. Kylie Ray, if she was involved in this, because the only thing we have from her is she likes some tweets or some bullshit, right? None of this amounts to evidence. And if there is evidence of wrongdoing, it is up to AEW to decide what they want to do about it and how they choose to deal with Chris Jericho going forward. They could suspend him with pay. They could suspend him without pay. They could have other penalties that they handle internally, like fines and things of that nature.
Correct.
They have the right to do all of those things and not tell you a word about it because it's really, because it's an internal matter, it's none of your business.
I think when it kind of comes down to it, transparency is a huge thing, but certain matters, if it doesn't paint anyone in a positive light, I can understand them just kind of not talking about it at all. I mean, but I think with the pressure, eventually they're going to have some type of, like, something's going to come out, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Could be completely off, but it's just, we here on the Talking Shit podcast, what do? We talk about facts, we talk about evidence. We don't deal in the world of speculation of like what ifs, possible rumors, because that's just, it's not substantial evidence. It's not substantial facts. It's a bunch of hearsay. It's a bunch of scuttlebutt. There's nothing there. You know, I could have a rumor that I'm 6'10" and I'm like the center for the Boston Celtics. Doesn't mean it's fucking true, right? You know, DEG could have a rumor that he's 7 foot tall, goaltender for the New York Rangers, but clearly he can't skate. So that's not true.
I don't know. That sounds kind of, racially biased.
I mean, we're a black-run business, so it can't be. So we gotta let things play out, man. We gotta let things play out.
Yeah, and that's really what it is, man. Some people, were saying all of these bad things about Chris Jericho. I mean, he's a rock star and he's a professional wrestler. He's not somebody that you're supposed to go to for, guidance on how to live your life. That's not what he's paid for. That's not what he's famous for.
No.
So there's another conversation, to be had about people's expectation of public figures. He is an imperfect human being, just like everybody else. There was some comments talking about how he's married, entertaining other women. And it's like, dude, if you're upholding yourself to that standard where you've never cheated on anybody in your life, awesome. Thumbs up. In the real world, guys who are hopped up on testosterone and traveling 300 dates a year, they're going to go out there and try to get laid because, contrary to public opinion, sexual desire and urges are a need. It is not an option. It is a biological need. You got all this testosterone flowing through you. You have all of, this public visibility that allows you sexual access that other men would not normally get. If you're famous like him, you're trying to get laid too because you can.
I mean, I'll disagree in this regard. I would probably I would be along the camp, like, no point in cheating. If you don't want to be faithful, just move on.
Right.
That's just kind of my thing. I don't agree, but like I'll agree in this aspect that they're public figures. They're not saints. They're not God. They're not perfect. They're just human beings.
Wrestler.
I mean, they probably, they shove steroids up their butt. Like, what do you expect, bro? They're a bunch of roided out people. I mean, we don't know these individuals. We don't. I mean, how many times have we seen public figures that had like a goody two shoes persona?
And you find out some
remember Bill Cosby? Come on,
Bill
man.
Cosby.
Bill Cosby, man, not Bill. Bill Cosby, man. Come on out here, bro. Like he was America's dad. I mean, he was America's step uncle. But anyways, I think interesting situation, good conversation to have. We had this on the phone, and thought it'd be kind of a good thorough one to have.
Yeah, I do want to make it clear, and I know this is at the end of the video. Most people already clicked off of it, so they're probably not going to see this.
No.
But this set of videos talking about Chris Jericho on the Talking Shit podcast, this is not to defend Chris Jericho. I don't know the guy. All I know is that he's a legend, and he says again
Yeah.
because he's Canadian. That's what I know. What I'm talking about here and why I chose to talk about these things is even without proof, in the absence of proof, in our modern age, people can destroy your reputation and your livelihood
Sure.
without any evidence that you did anything wrong whatsoever, just off of rumors. And again, the lesson is you have to be ultra careful about what you do and say around other people in the workplace. And it can be it can be something as nefarious as tricking someone into thinking that there is a multiple person engagement, and then you get there and it's a one-man party. It can be
Yeah.
something as nefarious as that, or it can be something as innocuous as, telling your female coworker, hey, you look good today. You should abstain from all of it. Because it puts your ability to feed yourself and or your family at risk, and you need to be very careful about how you comport yourself in the workplace. Obviously, it's going to be more messy in the world of professional wrestling, where things are really not as buttoned up as with other companies and corporations. But again, I'm defending Chris Jericho's right to due process. I'm not
Yeah.
defending him. Because we all know that by all the people that have all of these horrible things to say about him, if someone was to accuse them of something that would get them to lose their freedom or their livelihood, they wouldn't want everybody to jump to conclusions about them the way that they're jumping to conclusions about Jericho.
I mean, wow. Giving people the chance to see how things play out and giving them a fair shot. That sounds like a misogynistic black man right there. Just
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting. I mean, quite frankly, just to get more subscribers, Jericho should be underneath the jail. But no, yeah, just let this shit play out and see how it goes. I mean, he could be a piece of shit, or he could just be a dude that got caught up in a situation where it's getting painted in an incorrect manner. We don't know. You don't know. I don't know. The only one that knows is Jericho and the people involved, and we'll see how that plays out.
Well, here on TSP, because this has become a whole fucking thing, if there are any pertinent details that come out that is back corroborated by testimony, some sort of evidence, we will create an update in the future whenever something happens. If Jericho should be forced out of the company, if the NDAs are ruled to be legally unenforceable, and the people that sign them are able to talk about it and they talk about their experiences and they're able to back up their claims with facts, then we will change our position here on TSP. Before then, we are going to continue to wait until something concrete comes forward. In the comment section down below, which we know you will do, sound off. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.